All right, so we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. First up, audience comment.
There is nothing in the chat.
And
no physical forms.
okay. And then consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Heather, if you'll call for the vote.
Baker. Aye. Dunbar.
Aye.
Sosby.
Aye.
Stover.
Aye. And then, going on to new business, board ethics statement forms.
Okay, those were in your packet, and you have a physical one that we need you to sign, and you have been signing those every year for the past several years, so it should look familiar. And it's just an annual reminder of what you're promising to do as a board member. So I don't think there's anything talking on.
Okay. So go ahead and sign that. Okay. And then circulation policy, electronic devices section.
Okay, so that one is pretty easy. That's on page 30. And there is one little red item there, a change from $25 to $10. If something is returned in the drop box. And it's an item that should not have been. That's it. So an updated under fee.
So we need, okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Heather, if you'll call for the vote.
Baker. Aye. Dunbar.
Aye.
Oden. Aye. Sosby.
Aye.
Stover.
Aye. Okay, and then, next up, we have user fees policy.
Okay, and so that's for the next 2 pages. So one of those changes matches the one you just did in the other policy, the $10 for an item. You'll notice at the top that the non-resident fee has gone up, and that is just calculated by our tax, our taxes population. So every year, based on the population, our taxes, non-residents have to pay the same as the average resident would pay. And then we corrected something that we had omitted previously about color copies on an 11 by 17 size. And then our fax machine has stopped sending international faxes, so the service we use, and so we're changing that. So pretty small changes there, or things that we, like the non-resident fee as a formula we can't change, so.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Heather, if you'll call for the vote.
Baker. Aye. Dunbar.
Aye.
Oden. Sosby. Stover.
Aye.
And then surplus discard list.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, we have the electronic device.
Sorry.
Oh,
Sorry.
thank you. Electronic device and internet accessible use policy.
Thank you, Doug. Yes. So I was looking to see if TJ had jumped on online, because I'm, still trying to figure out what he's coming. So anyway, I apologize for that. So the electronic device and internet acceptable use policy, some of it is just kind of a cleanup, different language, or, really small changes. Changes been made to some of our process procedures. And then the only change that is an actual change is that computer sessions may be limited to 1 hour, but may be extended. So as opposed to the starting limit being 2 hours, we could limit it to an hour out of the gate, and then it's extended if people are not waiting. Otherwise, the rest of it is pretty minor. And you can see where there's been a strike through. Excuse me, or red added.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Heather, if you'll call for the vote.
Baker.
Aye.
Dunbar.
Aye.
Oden.
Aye.
Sosby.
Aye.
Stover.
Aye. Okay, surplus discard list. For real this time.
Yeah.
For real.
Page 36, and basically, you've seen these quite often, and it is a requirement that you declare things surplus. So I'm sure that that's really part of, the intention behind that is that we're staying honest and not doing anything on the fly with library equipment or furniture. So, there are things that become outdated, or it's not worth trying to keep up the equipment if it's out of warranty, that kind of thing, and it's not worth buying another warranty. Things that don't work anymore, things that are just extra, like, we replaced something, or we used to use a piece of furniture and now we don't anymore. So that's the list.
Do we need action on that to approve the
Yeah.
list?
Well, I think so. Let me look at what it says on here. Yes, you approve it, you declare it surplus by a vote.
Okay. All right, move to approve the surplus discard list.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
So is that stuff just thrown out?
It is offered to there are a lot of rules about what we can and cannot do with things that were purchased with public funds.
Okay.
So these items are offered to the friends of the library, and if the friends want to, if they want any of it to sell at their sale or do something with, they could take those items. If they don't, then we, try to find some way, like a place that, for example, if there's a place that would take something metal and give us money for the metal, we would send it to that, and then the money from that goes to the friends. Am I
Okay.
correct, Doug?
I believe so,
I
yeah,
believe that the money from that goes to the friends. They
because
didn't
it's
want to-
technically theirs.
Okay.
They didn't want to sell the items, so.
Okay.
And then sometimes it's not that easy, like trying to find an electronic recycler. I mean, sometimes we don't get money.
Okay. Thank you.
I just want to know about the box of miscellaneous costs.
I
Yeah.
was thinking about that. I was like, that's probably some stuff in there.
Yeah.
I
That
don't
would be
know.
good to use,
I'm not sure what that is. I don't know if it involves the former Howard that sustained. something
No,
like
that's
that.
still sitting downstairs in storage. My guess is, Children's was doing some cleaning. So that would be my guess.
Is it possible that some of the proceeds from whatever you get from this could go to our endowment at the foundation?
I don't know anything about the we would have to check the regulations on that. We can look into that, or we can send it to TJ, he can try to
There you
figure
go.
out for us.
Thank you, Trina. Trina said in the chat that Walmart donated a bunch of costumes to us. And that she said too many. So
Oh,
that's what.
So there's some for us, Mayor.
okay. I bet we'll fit into them.
All right, any other discussion? Great question to check on that. Okay, if not, Heather, if you'll call for the vote.
Baker.
Aye.
Dunbar.
Aye.
Oden.
Aye.
Sosby. Stover.
Aye. Okay, and now we'll have information about the state annual report.
Yeah, it's all in there and it's very lengthy glory. Doug is the person who compiles it, so if you have questions, he's your go-to person. It's, we're required to do this every year. And a lot of it is stuff that doesn't change, so trying to find the things that might have changed is, you have to kind of page through it looking. Doug, was there anything in particular you wanted to point out to them?
Nothing that I can remember. It's pretty standard.
Pain to do, I expect.
I have a lot of help, so I spread the pain.
They actually changed the due date of this a number of years ago. When I was first here, it was due February 1st, I want to say, and that was really bad.
Hmm.
Because some of the information wasn't even really available by January 2nd, and so for those of you who worked here with Peg, it was a great source of stress for Peg. And once they made the deadline further out, it became quite a bit more humane. Not fun.
Okay.
But
There is a form that the president has to sign.
Mhm.
So we can submit it.
And the director.
All right, well, thank you so much for doing that. Let's see. So, okay, talking then about a possible work session.
yes, I would like to set up a work session to talk to you about a couple of things, including some of the, just sort of the legislative update, you know, what's been happening and, you know, kind of some of our response to that, et cetera. And I was thinking like the April to maybe early May, looking at that time frame. So I can send out a doodle poll. It's helpful to me if I could know right out of the gate, like I know that spring break covers usually the first part of April. So if I could just find out when for sure not to pick any dates, if you know of things, or if somebody, you know, is gonna be out of country or whatever, you know, then I just won't pick that when I send out some available dates. So, and if you have your personal calendar handy and want to tell me, please don't do it before April X or whatever, that would be great.
Okay, like right
This
currently.
minute, yeah.
I am out April 16th through the 21st.
And that is after the other people get back from spring break, probably. Anybody going for spring break?
I am out March 23rd through April 1st.
All right, and Alan's not here, so I don't have his calendar.
And I'm going prior spring break.
Okay, so April's better for you. Okay. Sounds good. So I will send out one of those polls. And see what we can find. We can find a match, which is always an adventure. Your schedules are not the most compatible I've ever seen. Thank you.
Mary, did you deliberately leave the day after the board meeting so you could be here for the board meeting?
No,
Oh. Say that's so dedicated.
that was just a coincidence, just a lucky coincidence.
If she had a chance to move it back a day, she would have, but I heard.
And then the Roosevelt land donation update.
All right, I'm gonna introduce this, and then I'm gonna let TJ explain more, you know, like technical language. So, I'm sure some of you remember, if not all of you, that there has been this little strip of orphan property adjacent to the Roosevelt branch. And originally it came to our attention because the neighbor thought it was unsightly and wanted to, you know, do things to it or have us do things to it. And then the town of Roosevelt offered it to us. We had a meeting about that for policy, that if land is donated to us, what we have to do. We agreed to accept the donation. You agreed to accept the donation. However, as it turned out, the town of Roosevelt didn't own the land, so they could not in fact donate it. And so a lot of work ensued trying to figure out what had happened to this little piece. It's a tiny little piece of property with some trees on it, just a little strip. And so we had a title search done, and eventually we had an appraisal done. And discovered that it was owned by one of the people who had developed that subdivision, built that subdivision, or owned the property on which the subdivision was built. His name is Mr. Bean. And so TJ contacted Mr. Bean. I mean, it's his name, I can't change that, I'm sorry. TJ contacted Mr. Bean, who was happy to allow us to have that little strip of property. He's grateful the library was built in that neighborhood. And so TJ has worked with him to transfer that property. However, if this were a marathon, we're on like mile 24, as I understand it. So TJ, why don't you explain exactly where we are, what you've done and what we're doing?
Alright, so going back to the beginning here, we were trying to figure out who owned that land, and it's undefined. It's called UNK, an undefined parcel under Beacon, which is a graphical interface website to look at real estate. So we found that out, we sent that to get it, we got the title search back, and then it showed that at some point in time, Mr. Bean was a developer of property. His spouse had since passed, and when he transferred either the property to, I think it went to Rocheville, then to the library, the original library property, or when he transferred that property to the library, it was left off of a deed, or the neighbor was supposed to get it and it was left off their deed. So for some reason, when they split all that up, that it didn't end up going to us, which is why nowadays we do plats typically, right? And you have a map of the interface. So after we got the title search back, I got a hold of Mr. Bean, who didn't know that he owned property. And it's landlocked. I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do with it. You can see it on the screen there. And he was happy to donate it to us, so we got that appraisal done.
Okay.
And then he's gonna get a little tax write-off by that for 24, and
Yes.
we got it signed and submitted to the recorder. And I was hopeful that I would have it back before this board meeting, so I could confirm that we received the property, but I haven't yet. So because it was that UNK undefined property, they have to go back to look at the same records that we went through to figure out who owned the property to make sure that they could in fact transfer it to us. So we're waiting on confirmation that some record in the, was it 40s, maybe? Yes. Was in fact owned by Mr. Bean and Mrs. Bean. And then we had to record an affidavit of survivorship to get Mrs. Bean's name off of it so that Mr. Bean can transfer. It's been, we put some time and effort, I think.
Ongoing for.
Yeah.
I hope nothing happens to Mr. Bean
Yeah.
right now.
I know, he is not a young man.
No.
So we, the property, because of it being part of the subdivision, was zoned residential, which was great in terms of the appraisal getting done promptly because there are no commercial appraisers left in Howard County. So anyway, so it is, but so once we get the deed recorded, we will have to
Yeah,
file for it to be zoned as commercial.
are you guys IS institutional? I would think.
I don't know, when the person told us, the appraiser I talked to said there were only two kinds of licensing, it was institutional, or it was commercial or residential.
Okay, and the city be institutional, I think, but the county's zoning ordinance is a little bit.
I don't know, whatever, it's not residential, even though it's not buildable. It's, should not remain residential. So
Right.
whatever the proper term is, that will be TJ's next step.
Yep.
We sent Mr. Bean he needed certain tax paperwork, et cetera, and we sent, Rita took care of that.
So we'll have to talk to the county, file an application. And then that'll go in front of the county planning commission, and they would approve it. And then if they approve it, I think their recommendation boards, then it goes to the county commissioners. Would approve the rezoning, which I don't foresee that being an issue, so.
So basically, 2 years from when this started, we should have it all wrapped up.
So he has to. I mean, like the deed part for the land is then Mr. Bean need to. He'll get a deed and
We already have a
Back
deed,
off
Mr. Bean signed the deed in our name, so now we're waiting for the recorder's office to transfer the
do
property.
all the things and they gotta go back and do everything.
Yeah.
But it's taking them a long time because of the status of the property.
Okay.
You mentioned to start with that somebody complained about the unsightliness of it.
And
Does that cost us anything?
no, actually what happened, even before we owned it, somehow, you know, in Roosevelt, people know each other. So, somehow the neighbor approved the fact that the tree and park board, head, I don't know, the head of the tree and park board, on a voluntary basis, could go and clean up that area. So we worked with this volunteer, who is also a volunteer for us in some ways, but very involved with the library. We work closely with them for like our Arbor Day celebrations and having the outdoor things with the outdoor classroom. Anyway, so he and his wife came and cleaned it all up. And I looked at it when I was out there for a meeting. Probably the last time we held a board meeting out there, maybe, or I was out there for some, when I was out there for some reason, at any rate, I toured it and it was all, they had cut off a lot of, there are trees, a lot of trees in there, and they cut off a lot of the low branches so that they're not all overlapping, and cleaned up a lot of brush and that kind of thing. So last I saw it, it was looking much, much better and the neighbor was not happy.
Is it big enough to have any use?
No. It just needs to be, we just have, somebody needs to be responsible so that if, you know, if a tree needs taken down, we can do it, that kind of thing. So it's not, I don't think it's an advantage to us, that
Just, I haven't been out there. Well, we had a meeting out there, I think, last time, and I went to the side to check it out, but.
Aaron Smith actually would be a good person to comment on it. Aaron, are you online? Maybe not.
It was.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I was didn't have the right window open. I'm sorry. So the question was about the usability of the piece of property.
Yes.
I think it was about 300 square feet. I don't personally envision there being much that could be done with it. It kind of runs along the side of the building there where the HVAC units are located. I don't see much being able to be done with it. It kind of juts up against the building, so it doesn't really increase the amount of space there in such a way that,
Okay.
I guess you could bust out that wall and maybe go out 5 or 8 more feet, something like that. But I don't see much being done with it. I think Lori Seaman, the manager of that facility or that branch, but she's not the manager, the coordinator of that branch, had some vague ideas of maybe planting some stuff over there, but that's about it.
It's sort of, it's but the outside of the meeting room wall. And it's just like a driveway. It would be like enough for a driveway, but we don't want a
That's an
driveway.
awful small room on that
It
side.
is, but to be within the limits of where you could go to the edge of the property, it would be very expensive for a very small addition, I would think.
I don't know what the setback, there'd be a setback that would still have to be green space. So you can expand the building maybe a little bit.
Yeah, the appraiser considered to be non-buildable is what he told me.
Yeah.
So,
Is one positive thing about it is that it provides a little more space between the library and the neighbor, maybe?
Yeah.
Perhaps like if the neighbor had it, that then their backyard would even be closer
Yeah.
to the library. It just gives a little more,
a buffer. a
Yeah.
little bit of a buffer.
Yeah.
maybe, you know?
If we were doing some outdoor event, could it be a place, might we be able to fit a table over there for some, you know, or whatever, something like that, or, yeah. So that's the report. I just wanted to bring you up to date.
TJ, the parcel report for the library itself says that it's zoned 0. Does that mean anything to you?
No.
Okay, me either.
Worthless.
Right.
Or O. Is it a zero or an O?
It,
Can you tell for sure it's a zero?
it looks more like a zero.
Big enough to have a garden walkway we have at the South Branch.
It's not, it's currently, only things that would grow under there would be, things that would grow in shade, probably full shade. And it's not very big. So I'm not, I mean, you might be able to put in a few native plants or something, but as opposed to a whole garden like the butterfly garden, no, it's not large. So that was it, unless somebody has other questions for me.
That was exciting.
If you get any questions or run into the neighbor, you know, now you know.
Sure.
Then other new business. That is for us if we have
Yes, any board member with new business to them.
I can just share one fun thing. I was at the South Branch and there were 2 lost doggies outside and I saw the staff take good care of the dogs. And by the time I was leaving, they were going with the Kokomo Humane Society and so you could see they handled it gracefully.
Yes, I saw it in internet report.
Something interesting for their day, I'm sure. Okay. And then director's comments.
All right, I wanted to just mention to you that, and it's unfortunate that Angelo is not here tonight. The Art Off the Square exhibit out there has pieces by 2 of our employees, 2 student employees. And one of them, or 2 of them, are by Angelo Anders, and then there's also a piece by Rachel Susong. And Angelo, one of Angelo's pieces has a ribbon on it. So you might want to look on your way out. They are both, if you exit from this door, they're both to your right.
Okay.
So, and Angelo normally is one of our mayor's youth. So, anyway, just wanted to let you know about that. It's kind of a fun little detail. So, and I don't have any other announcements. But I'm not thinking of any. I feel as if I might be forgetting one, but I can always email you.
Okay, then this meeting is adjourned.